So hi, I'm Leah with the Budget Project, and what we do is really think about what state budget and tax policy, what the implications are for our state and for economic and racial justice. So the first question is, I'm just going to read it because it struck me. So tell us how budgets are used as a tool of equity, and maybe I shouldn't have started to write this while I was sitting in committee, but I did. And so, I mean, I think in short the answer is they're not. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's probably what you wanted me to start by saying. But I mean, I think really at least our state budget and tax system is a function to keep in place the status quo. I mean, I think that's the truth. It was built to do that. And so I would say that work to advance equity in budget and tax policy is about disrupting the status quo. And, so I like to do that. And I want to start by giving an example on the tax side, and this has already come up, and it's just the heart of it, I think, is if you don't have the money, you don't have anything else that you want to do for equity. So if you don't have the tax revenue, you don't have the opportunity to invest in anything. So we spend a lot of time at the Budget Project really focused on the tax side, and we do weigh in on the budget side as well, but we take the lead from other partners on that front as much as we can. And I think our expertise is more, we wonk out on the tax side. And so just the fact is that our tax system is not fair, just to be clear. I promise I won't stay negative. It's not. We have a regressive tax system. What that means is that the wealthiest Minnesotans are not paying their fair share right now. They're not paying the same percentage of their income into the state budget. So that's just the reality of what we face. And then, of course, if you know that, naturally, if we want to see more money so that we can have more equity, then we have to ask the wealthiest to pay their fair share. So we did. We did that in 2013, and we did increase the fourth tier of the income tax, and meaning that we were saying that if you are of a certain income level, just roughly, I'll just say if you're in the top 2%, then we want you to pay more. And it's because, again, you're not paying your fair share. We're not trying to witch hunt or something. It's just asking that you contribute equally. So we did do that, and it will be a fight to keep that money and to keep that in our tax code, no doubt. We're already in it again. But the fact is we did that, and we still don't have a fair system. So we're still regressive. And part of that, and I just want to be clear, I think sometimes people think of the tax system and you think only of income tax, and you're correct if you're thinking about state taxes that is the biggest contributor, but the next biggest is sales tax. And if you think about who's paying the most of their income in sales tax, well, who's spending the most of their income? People who are just getting by spend all of their income, not all taxed, food, things like that, but really you're spending much more and paying much more of a percentage of your income in that tax. So when you add it all up, and there's a lot of different things to add up, but when you do add it all up, it's really hard to have a fair tax system, and you absolutely can't do it if we give people breaks on things like income tax. So that's an easier one, and you can think about how income ties to race and where the inequity lines are there. But I want to bring up one other thing, because I think there's just so much of our tax code that was written. I was told I could not to say this, but oh well. So not by my director, just a communications person. I mean, it was built by wealthy white men. That's true. So, of course they built it according to their own ideals. And what's like this American, kind of old school idea? Property. And so our tax code just strongly favors home ownership. So we give tax breaks, and that's a big part of where we reward majority culture thinking. So we will reward our wonderful homeowners. Well, I think we all know how history has impacted who owns homes and property. And so there's right now, of course, if we're going to do something in a tax code to benefit homeowners, that's going to mostly be white people. We know that. So that's one thing. So when we choose to give relief on property tax to homeowners, if we don't also give that to renters, that's inequity. That's economic and racial inequity that we're building into our tax code. So we fight for things like the renter's credit to be a matter of equity there. But I just want to say one other thing that's hot right now that kind of ups the ante. The big fight now is estate taxes. Has anyone heard of estate tax? You guys are smart.
I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you. First, I just want to ask, is anyone planning to give away a $2 million or larger estate anytime soon?
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Over my dead body.
That is precisely when we intend to do it. So, yes, right now what we are fighting is, this terrible idea that you pay for the capital gains on an estate of $2 million plus, and the fight is that's too low and we have to make it be $5 million or greater because we're hurting these people who are not really that rich after all. So that's right now. Seriously, I mean, you should see the testimony from today. It's insane. People are really feeling sorry for themselves about this, and no concept of privilege in that at all. Why do you have an estate that large? And I'm sorry, but if you die, your kids can afford the taxes. They're getting an estate of at least $2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah, so sell something. I don't know. So that's our debate right now at the state level on tax policy. It's really serious. That is on the table. Again, it is every year. But people are really worried about that. And so then on the budget side, and I'll be quicker on this because, again, we take our lead from others mostly, but I think the same fight happens where the playing field isn't even. So if you want an investment, let's say we have adequate revenues and now we can do some investing. If you want to do that, you're going to have an easier time if you have a popular thing. And so one contrast I'll make is if you want to invest in kids, you're going to get an easier path than if you want to invest in adults. So that logic, if it's you want healthcare, you want education, whatever it is, that's a tough line. And one contrast right now is we're going to give potentially pre-K to all 4-year-olds. I'm not disagreeing with that necessarily, but we can't get. That's a big price tag, and at the same time, we can't get childcare for kids that we know are struggling, that are from low-income families, that they're not 3 yet, and they're not going to make it that far and be in good standing to do that early learning if we don't help their parents go to work and have them have a stable place to be. So there's an awful lot there. Am I supposed to talk about experience right now too? No. Okay.
You've got 45 seconds to do it.
Okay. Well, bottom line, you can fight all you want on the revenue side, and the lesson I learned in 2013 is that you also, once you get that revenue, don't count on the people who you worked hard for that money to necessarily in their budget remember and put your equity priorities first. And I could talk longer about how that experience played out in 2013, but it was a much longer fight than getting the money on the table, but that is the start.